They say you never truly understand the weight someone carries until they stop carrying it for you. That's what my family discovered the hard way. I'm Alex, 32 years old, and for the past decade, I've been what you might call the family foundation, the quiet, reliable pillar holding everything together when storms hit. Every family seems to have one person like this, right? The emergency contact, the dependable one, the human safety net who catches everyone when they fall. I never volunteered for the role, but somehow it found me. Growing up with little money shaped me in ways I'm still understanding. I remember watching my parents count pennies at the grocery store, the quiet anxiety when bills arrived, the creative excuses for why we couldn't do things other families did. I promised myself that if I ever made it, if I ever climbed out of that financial quicksand, I'd make sure no one else in my family had to experience that gnawing uncertainty again. And I did make it. Through scholarships, countless overnight shifts, and years of saying no to myself so I could say yes to my future, I built something solid. A career, financial stability, a life where unexpected expenses were inconveniences, not catastrophes. That's when the pattern began. At first, it was small things. Mom needed help with her electricity bill after a particularly harsh winter. Dad's car needed repairs that insurance wouldn't cover. My sister Vanessa's wedding venue required a deposit she couldn't quite manage. My younger brother Elliot lost his security deposit on his apartment and needed help securing a new place. I never hesitated. Family helps family, right? That's what I told myself each time I opened my banking app. Each time I said, "Don't worry about paying me back." Each time I watched the money flow outward like water. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. What started as occasional assistance morphed into regular expectation. The gratitude became shorter, the requests more frequent. The thank you text turned into, "When can you send it?" messages. The temporary fixes became permanent fixtures in my monthly budget. Mom's "just this once" rent help turned into me silently covering her entire apartment payment every month. Dad's car insurance became another automatic withdrawal from my account. Vanessa's emergency credit card bill somehow became my responsibility. Elliot's "I'll pay you back next week" promises evaporated like morning dew. Still, I never complained. I never kept score. I told myself this was what love looked like: practical, generous, unconditional. Until my birthday last month. The plan was simple: a relaxed dinner at Riverstone, this cozy local place with string lights and exposed brick walls. Nothing extravagant, just intimate, a chance to breathe, laugh, and feel connected to the people who mattered most. I reserved a private room in the back, $400 non-refundable deposit. I picked a location central to everyone's neighborhoods, so distance couldn't be an issue. I sent calendar invites, followed up with reminder texts, confirmed everyone could make it. Mom and Dad, Vanessa and her husband Greg, Elliot, even my cousin Tessa and her boyfriend who somehow materialized at every family gathering despite never hosting one himself. Everyone confirmed with enthusiastic replies and emojis. The day arrived. I put on the blazer Mom had given me for Christmas, arrived 15 minutes early, confirmed the cake was ready, and settled in to wait for my family. 30 minutes passed, then 45, then an hour. I texted the group, "Hey everyone, I'm here whenever you're ready." No response. At first, I made excuses for them. Traffic must be horrible. Someone's kid must have had an emergency. The universe must be conspiring against our plans. But as the candles melted lower and the waiter gave me increasingly sympathetic glances, the truth began to crystallize. They weren't coming. No one was coming. That's when my phone buzzed. Not with an apologetic text or a delayed ETA. It was an Instagram notification. Vanessa had posted a photo. Not just any photo. A group shot at Steakhouse 73, a trendy spot across town. There they were, all of them, Mom, Dad, Elliot, Tessa, and her boyfriend. Everyone, smiling, laughing, raising glasses. The caption read, "Family night. So grateful for the real ones. #blessed. The air left my lungs. My hand trembled as I scrolled through the comments. Maya had written, "Looks amazing. Missing Alex, though." And Vanessa, my own sister, had replied, "He had his own plans tonight, I think." My own plans. My own plans were sitting in this empty room, surrounded by vacant chairs and dimming candles, waiting for the very people who were deliberately somewhere else. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I sat there, paralyzed, as a strange emptiness spread through my chest. When I finally moved, it was to pay for a drink I'd barely touched, tip the waiter generously for his patience, and walk out with as much dignity as I could muster. During the drive home, the numbness gave way to a clarity so sharp it almost hurt. This wasn't an oversight. This wasn't a miscommunication. This was intentional exclusion. And worse, it wasn't even the first time. Like a slideshow, memories began to surface. Last Christmas, when dinner location somehow changed to Elliot's house without anyone telling me. The family group chat, where my messages often went unacknowledged. Vanessa's baby shower, where she thanked everyone individually except me, despite the fact that I'd paid for the venue and the custom decorations. I'd written it all off as innocent oversight. People get busy. People forget. But sitting in my car, knuckles white against the steering wheel, I couldn't maintain that fiction anymore. When I got home, I didn't call anyone. I didn't send angry texts. Instead, I sat in darkness, scrolling through that Instagram post again and again, watching the likes accumulate. Each heart, each comment felt like another brick in a wall between me and my family. Then I opened my banking app. The automatic transfer for mom's rent, canceled. Dad's car insurance payment, terminated. Vanessa's monthly loan to cover her credit card minimum, stopped. Elliot's utilities that somehow ran through my account, disconnected. Each tap on my screen felt like cutting a string that had been pulling me in directions I never chose to go. Not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. Not as punishment, but as awakening. Then I posted a simple Instagram story. Not a rant, not an accusation. Just a photo of my untouched birthday cake with a simple caption. Reminder, I'm the one who pays mom's rent and dad's car insurance. No hashtags, no tags, just truth. The reaction was immediate. My phone lit up like Times Square on New Year's Eve. Mom called 5 times in succession. Her voicemail was eerily cheerful. "Hi, sweetie. Not sure if you got my messages earlier. Just wanted to check in. I think something weird happened with the rent this month. Maybe a glitch? Anyway, love you. Call me." A glitch. As if the bank had somehow malfunctioned, rather than me making a conscious decision after years of invisible support. Dad's text was equally revealing. "Got a notice about the insurance. You sure you didn't forget to update the card? Looks like it's overdue. Call me when you can." No recognition. No connection between their actions and my response. Just the assumption that I'd fix it, that I'd continue to be the safety net regardless of how I was treated. Vanessa's messages evolved in real time. Her first text was dismissive. "Seriously, Alex, you're embarrassing yourself. We didn't exclude you. We just wanted a chill dinner. You're taking it way too personally." When I didn't respond, her tone shifted. "You could have just said you felt left out. You didn't need to make mom and dad freak out like this." There was the pivot from mockery to blame, not acknowledging that they had hurt me, but suggesting that my reaction to their behavior was the real problem. I didn't reply to any of them. For once, I let the silence do the talking. 4 days later, Elliot showed up at my door uninvited. There he stood on my porch, hands in his hoodie pockets, wearing that disarming smile that had gotten him out of trouble since we were kids. "Hey," he said, as if nothing was wrong, as if he'd just stopped by to borrow a lawnmower. I let him in, but didn't sit when he patted the couch cushion beside him. "You mad?" he asked. That single question ignited something in me. Mad? No, I was humiliated. There's a difference. He held up his hands defensively. "All right, fair. But come on, you really think this was some big conspiracy? We just wanted a casual night out. Nobody was trying to hurt you." I walked to the kitchen, poured myself water just to have something to do with my hands. "Elliot, I wasn't invited. That's not true, he frowned. Then why didn't anyone acknowledge my invitation? Why did no one respond when I texted from the restaurant? Why did Vanessa tell people I had other plans when you all knew I was sitting alone in a private room? You posted a group photo like I wasn't even part of the family. He looked away, uncomfortable. We didn't think you'd care, man. You always seemed so, I don't know, self-sufficient. I laughed. A short, bitter sound. You mean because I pay for everything? Because I never ask for anything in return? His silence was confirmation enough. Look, he said finally, Mom and Dad are freaking out. They're saying the rent office called, and Dad's worried about the car. Can you just maybe give them a heads up before you do stuff like this? I set my glass down carefully. I've been giving them heads-ups for years, Elliot. Every month, in the form of silent support, without complaint, without recognition. You don't get to show up now and ask me to do it louder just because you finally noticed the silence. He stood, frustration evident. So what? You're just going to cut them off? You think you're punishing us, but you're just making everyone's life harder. No, I replied calmly. You did that when you decided I wasn't family enough to sit at the table. He stared at me, searching for words that wouldn't come. Finally, he muttered, I should go. I nodded once and opened the door for him. As he crossed the threshold, he turned back. This feels petty, Alex. Then maybe you've forgotten what being left out feels like, I replied, and closed the door. The silence I'd created continued for 5 more days. 5 days of unanswered calls, unread messages, and a family group chat so quiet you'd think someone had died. In a way, something had the illusion that I was valued for more than my wallet. On the 6th day, Mom's voicemail dropped all pretense of confusion. Her voice was strained, barely masking panic. Alex, I don't know what's going on with you, but I just got a notice from the building manager. He says the rent still hasn't gone through, and if it's not resolved by Friday, they're going to start the eviction process. I don't understand. Why would you let that happen? Call me. No apology. No mention of my birthday. No recognition of what they'd done. Just confusion that their financial support had suddenly vanished. Dad's message was similar, though wrapped in passive aggression. Hey kiddo, got a letter from the insurance company. Says the car's not covered anymore. You must have changed banks or something. Would have been nice to get a heads up. Anyway, I'm headed to the shop today, so let me know when it's fixed. When it's fixed, not if. Not could you help. Just the assumption that I'd jump right back in once I'd made my point, like this was all some dramatic performance stage for attention. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened my phone's notes app and started a list. Every expense I'd covered over the past 3 years. Rent, car insurance, prescription refills, utilities, wedding gifts, emergency loans, surprise birthday dinners for them. The total, over $42,000. I wasn't planning to send it to anyone. I just needed to see it to confirm that I hadn't imagined the magnitude of my support. Because clearly they had. The following Saturday, my doorbell rang. The security camera showed Vanessa, hair perfectly styled, designer sunglasses perched on her head, holding what looked like a tin of cupcakes. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won out. I wanted to see what she'd say face to face. I opened the door just enough to see her. Vanessa. She flashed a rehearsed smile. Hey, thought I'd drop by. Brought cupcakes. I didn't reach for them. Why? Her smile faltered slightly. Because it's your birthday week. Well, it was. I know things got a little weird. I leaned against the doorframe. Weird. She sighed dramatically. Okay, tense. But you've kind of made it tense, Alex. You blew up the group chat with that post. I didn't say anything in the chat. You know what I mean, she said, brushing past me into the living room without invitation. You posted that whole thing about paying Mom's rent and Dad's insurance, and now everyone's freaking out thinking you're cutting them off. I closed the door slowly. I didn't say I was cutting anyone off. But you did, Alex, with the rent and the insurance and everything else. It's not just the money, it's the way you did it. You didn't talk to anyone. You didn't explain. I walked past her, sat down, and finally met her gaze. Vanessa, Did you explain to me why you organized a dinner across town with everyone but me? Did you talk to me before you made that decision? She blinked rapidly. It wasn't my dinner. Tessa picked the place. I laughed, a hollow sound. Come on. You tagged everyone. You posted the photo. You left a comment saying I had my own plans. That was your message. Don't act surprised that I finally listened to it. Her expression darkened. This is what I mean. You're being dramatic. We didn't think you'd care. You're always doing your own thing. You never ask for anything. You always act like you're better than us. I stood up. No, I act like someone who has boundaries. And you know what? I don't ask for anything because I learned a long time ago that asking doesn't work in this family unless you've got some guilt card to play. But I do show up. I pay. I support. I cover. And you know what I get in return? A seat behind the camera. A footnote in your lives. She put the tin of cupcakes on the table and crossed her arms. So what now? You want us to beg? You want an apology? I walked over, picked up the tin, and handed it back to her. No, I just want honesty. If you don't consider me family, that's fine, but don't smile to my face and then pretend I disappeared on my birthday. Don't take my money and then act like my absence is no big deal. You want things back to normal? That was never normal. Her face flushed. Mom's scared she's going to lose her place. Dad's car is uninsured. You're putting them in danger over some hurt feelings. No, I said quietly. They put themselves in danger when they built their lives on someone they clearly don't respect. I'm just stepping out of the role they wrote for me without my consent. For a moment, she didn't speak, just stared at me with her mouth slightly open. Then she turned, walked to the door, and paused before opening it. I hope this is worth it, she said. I hope it makes you think, I replied. And then she left. The next wave came quickly. Mom called 2 days later, crying but not apologizing, just panicked. I don't know what we're supposed to do. They said we have until Friday, or they'll start the process. Why are you doing this, Alex? I almost answered. Almost. Instead, I drafted a message I'd send once the dust settled. Once I was sure they'd finally see me for more than just what I provided. I waited a full week before sending it. 7 days of ignored texts, missed calls, and a family group chat, so eerily quiet you could hear the digital crickets. Mom texted 5 times in one day. Once to beg, once to guilt trip, and 3 more times to remind me she wasn't getting any younger and needed stability at her age. No mention of a birthday. No mention of the dinner. Just the same cycle of expectations, now with a little more panic in her tone. Dad left a voicemail that actually made me pause. Alex, I don't know what happened. I know we've made mistakes. Your mother, your sister, me too. But this insurance situation is serious. If something happens and I'm not covered, please, son, don't make us pay for something Vanessa did. That one felt different. Not because of the guilt trip, but because for once he acknowledged that someone had done something wrong, and it wasn't me. That was new. Still, it didn't change the facts. He'd benefited just as much. He'd watched it happen over and over again, and silence is still complicity. So I sat down, pulled up my notes, and wrote the message I'd been drafting in my head for days. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't cruel. It was just honest. Hi, everyone. I wanted to clarify a few things, since there seems to be confusion. I didn't cut anyone off. I simply stopped doing things I was never thanked for in the first place. The rent, the car insurance, the bills. I did those things because I wanted to help, but I've come to realize that my support was never appreciated, just expected. I spent my birthday sitting alone in a restaurant I paid for. No one showed. No one texted. Instead, you all had a separate dinner and posted about it online where I saw it by accident. That hurt. Not because I need to be celebrated, but because it showed me exactly where I stand in this family. As a resource, not a member. I'm not asking for apologies or explanations. I'm setting boundaries. From now on, I won't be covering regular expenses for anyone. If there's a genuine emergency, we can talk about it, but the automatic payments and silent support are over. This isn't punishment. It's self-respect. I deserve to be part of a family that values my presence as much as my wallet. I love you all, and I hope we can build something healthier going forward. Alex. I hit send, put my phone on silent, and went to bed. For the first time in years, I slept deeply, unburdened by the weight of expectations I never agreed to carry. The next morning, my phone was filled with notifications, messages, voicemails, missed calls. I didn't check them immediately. Instead, I made coffee, sat on my balcony, and watched the sunrise. Whatever they had to say, it could wait. I had spent years responding instantly to their needs. Now, it was my turn to move at my own pace. When I finally opened the messages, they were a mixed bag. Mom's response was tearful, but finally acknowledged the birthday dinner. Dad was practical, asking if we could meet to figure things out. Vanessa was still defensive, but had softened slightly, saying she never meant to take advantage. Elliot's message surprised me most. You're right. We've been treating you like an ATM, not a brother. I'm sorry. Really sorry. When you're ready to talk, I am too. It was a start, not a solution, but at least an acknowledgement of the problem. I didn't reply right away. This wasn't about getting immediate satisfaction or watching them scramble. It was about establishing a new foundation, one built on mutual respect, not one-sided obligation. Most importantly, our conversations began to shift. Instead of starting with "I need," they now often began with "How are you?" It wasn't perfect, and there were plenty of missteps along the way. Old habits die hard, but for the first time in years, I felt seen. 6 months later, on a crisp autumn evening, I hosted another dinner. Same restaurant, same private room. This time, I didn't send reminders. I didn't follow up anxiously. I simply extended the invitation and let stand. When I arrived, the room wasn't empty. Everyone was there, not just on time, but early. There was a wrapped gift at my place setting and a cake that I hadn't paid for myself. Mom hugged me tightly. "Happy belated birthday, sweetheart. We're making up for lost time." Dad clapped my shoulder. "Thanks for giving us another chance." Vanessa handed me a small envelope. Inside was a check, not for the full amount I'd covered over the years, but a significant start. "I'm paying you back," she said. "Not just for this. For everything." Elliot raised his glass. "To Alex. Not just for what you do, but for who you are." We missed that difference for too long. I looked around the table at my family, flawed, complicated, but trying. Really trying. The road ahead would have bumps, no doubt. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight. But as I blew out the candles on my cake, I made a different wish than I would have a year ago. Not for appreciation, not for acknowledgement, but for the strength to keep my boundaries firm, even when it's uncomfortable. Because sometimes the most loving thing you can do for others, and yourself, is to stop being their safety net and start being their equal. As we ate and talked and laughed, I realized something profound. I hadn't lost my family by standing up for myself. I'd found a version of them I could actually be part of. Not just the one who pays, but the one who matters. And that was worth more than all the money I'd ever spent. Looking back now, I see that what happened wasn't just about a missed birthday dinner or unpaid bills. It was about a pattern that had slowly eroded my sense of worth within my own family. I had become the invisible support beam, essential but unseen, valued for my function rather than my presence. The journey since then hasn't been linear. There have been setbacks and difficult conversations. Mom still occasionally slips into old patterns, hinting about bills or temporary help. Dad sometimes forgets to express gratitude when I do choose to help with something. Vanessa has good months and bad months with her financial responsibilities. But the difference now is that we talk about it. We acknowledge it. We address it before resentment can take root and grow. I've learned that generosity without boundaries isn't actually generosity. It's a form of self-abandonment. And I've discovered that my family is capable of more growth than I gave them credit for. They stepped up when they had to, found resources I never knew they had, and most importantly, began to see me as more than just a solution to their problems. Last week, Elliot called me. Not to ask for anything, just to chat. We talked about work, about the weird documentary he'd watched, about nothing in particular. As we were about to hang up, he said something that stuck with me. You know, I was mad at you at first, when you stopped helping everyone. I thought you were being selfish. But now I get it. You weren't walking away from us. You were asking us to walk toward you for once. He was right. That's exactly what it was. The money matters less now. Sometimes I still help out, when a genuine emergency arises or when someone needs a temporary boost. But it's no longer automatic, no longer expected, and most importantly, no longer unacknowledged. We're still learning, all of us, how to love without keeping score, how to help without enabling, how to be present without sacrificing ourselves. It's messy and imperfect and occasionally painful. But for the first time in years, it feels like family. Real family. Not because we're perfect, but because we're finally honest about our imperfections. And that, I've discovered, is worth more than any amount of financial support I could ever provide.